welcome back to Build Propulsion Lab at JCON Europe, comes to live from Cologne, Germany. And my next guest is Eberhard Wolff. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Great
to see you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming. Great to see you. It's been ages. It's been like forever.
Yeah,
I think the last time we met was in one of the SNS media conferences in Germany.
At JAX, yeah.
One of the JAXs, and that was like pre-COVID stuff. That was like really long time.
Yeah, it has to be. So it's quite a long time ago.
Yeah. They never invited me since I joined Gradle. Look at you, SNS media, do better. No, I'm just kidding. They're great. I love their conferences. Both the JAXs are just extraordinary. I really hope to get back to it one time. But now we're at another great conference in Germany, JCON, my first time in the conference, and it's really, really great.
Yeah, I agree. It's a great conference here at the cinema in Cologne. So it's lots of interesting talks. So I really enjoyed it.
And cinema is the best venue. It has some shortcomings because sometimes there is not enough space for expo, and sometimes it's in the middle of nowhere. And we know exactly what conference I refer to. But here, not, and there is no good food around. But none of it is true here in Köln. The location is great. There is plenty of space, and there is a lot of food options here. And yeah, this is like, I really find it great.
And it's easy to reach.
And it's really, yeah, obviously, especially in Europe, everything is by train, very accessible. It's a short walk from the train station here. And then, you know what, you get out of the train station and boom, you have the Cologne Cathedral, which is sight to see.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
It's definitely impressive. Okay, so to our business topic of conversation, you mentioned that your talk was about DDD, which is domain-driven design or development. What are we talking about?
Yeah, so domain-driven design, as the name says, means that you put the domain at the center of your design, so architecture as well as development. And in my talk, I went from the very coarse-grained to the overall structure of the teams, how they interact, to the code level, and I showed how different techniques that you can use can be applied throughout all these different areas and these different levels of granularity. So that's what I basically provided, an overview of different techniques that you can use.
It's not all this low-code stuff that generates code for you.
No. It's quite the opposite, I would say. So there are techniques like event storming, where you get the domain experts and the technical people in one room, and they put stickies on the wall about the events that might happen in the domain to have a shared understanding about what the domain is all about. And then there are the sort of, on the code level, there are the sort of traditional patterns like repository, service, entity, and so on, that you would use to structure your system, your object-oriented system, and to deal with the code level and the classes and how you design them. And then there is a process in between that takes you from the very coarse-grained to that rather fine-grained.
So in the end of the day, we're talking about just a way to discipline yourself when you think about the design of your system instead of just like random spaghetti growth.
Exactly, and what I like about domain-driven design is basically, the name already says it, right? At the center of all what we do, like all the code that we provide, there should be the business value, and therefore the domain should drive it. And one of the things that I actually did at the talk was to ask the people what might be, you have the order process, you have invoicing, and you have the delivery process. So what's the most important part of your system? And usually what most of the people answer is, well, it's the order process, which I can relate to because it's where the revenue is generated. But then on the slide, I say, okay, well, look, our business strategy is to set us apart by our quality in terms of delivery, which means that this should be our focus point. And this is something where, we as technical people tend to jump to conclusions, order process, this is where the revenue comes in, so this has to be important, while really the strategy is different. And to me, this is what this is about, the interaction between us technical people and the business people, and to really support the business and the goal of the business, and to understand it and to put it in software. I think that's actually probably one of the most important things that we have in software development. If you look at software development in total, because that is what gets us paid, right? To have that business value.
So, and I think here is where the challenge lies, right? A lot of technical people will say, this business crap, it's not my business, pun intended. It's not that I get paid off, I get paid for writing code. Tell me what to write, I will write it. I don't want to understand all your whatever high level consideration or what's not my pay, above my pay grade. I don't have the capacity, I don't have the bandwidth. I just want to write my code.
And I can totally relate to that, because I'm a technical person myself, so I studied computer science, and I didn't study computer science to do business, because then I would have studied business. But I guess it takes some time to realize, and maybe also some experience with a project, to realize that this is what is so important to make projects successful. And I guess that's the reason why this is what is also important to me these days. And the other thing that is also important to me these days is how people interact, because that's the other huge problem that we have. And quite honestly, if you have a brilliant developer and that developer is told to write something that doesn't make any sense, then he can be the most brilliant developer ever. It's still going to be a failure. So to be really successful, I think there is a leverage here, and you have to execute on that to be, really successful.
So I guess it requires maturity.
Probably, yeah. Or I'm not sure. It probably requires some kind of searching for knowledge and wisdom and trying to understand stuff. So it's just natural curiosity. How does that stuff work that I'm implementing? What is it that I'm really doing here? And if you have that kind of curiosity, then you will probably be more successful. And I think with us technical people, that's probably a natural thing to have, right? I'm always curious about new technologies. Why wouldn't I be curious about the setup of my project and what the project is really meant to be?
Yeah, what I see is that technical people, they will get excited in the beginning of their career about very technical things like, hey, new language, new version, new library, new something. And then this curiosity about the business sides of things, it comes a little bit later. It requires a little bit of maturity in that sense. And maybe it's something that is just a matter of paying attention. And the DDD kind of focuses and highlights this aspect of, hey, you also need to pay attention to this part with the same curiosity that you pay attention to learning what's new in Java 22.
I would totally agree, and I think so too. And I have to admit, there is nothing wrong with technical people who care about technical things. So you can have technical excellence, and you can have this more business-oriented people. At the end of the day, that's the other point. It's also about collaboration, right? You have to have all these people work together. The business side, the architects, the developers, the technical excellent people, the people who care more about the business sides, and then you can be truly successful. There is no other way, because if you just stick to the business, you won't be successful either.
Oh, that's for sure. That's for sure. Okay, so here you have it, folks. I think kind of the what you need to take home from this conversation is that if you are only interested in technology, you're not doing enough for you and for your business. And domain driven design can help you pay attention to things that are also important for business and being more successful as individual and as company.
Exactly, and be open to new thoughts. Take a look at the whole domain-driven design stuff. There is a lot of stuff. There is a lot of resources in the community, and I think it might open up a new world to you.
Yeah. So my last question was about resources. So obviously your talk it's going to be published soon enough. So take a look at that. Obviously, is there any kind of a canonical book that people should read about DDD to kind of get it? And
yeah, there is the original DDD book by Eric Evans, which is now about 20 years old. There is the book called Implementing Domain-Driven Design by Vaughan Vernon. And the one that I would probably suggest if you want to start afresh is the Domain-Driven Design Distilled by Vaughan Vernon, because it's like 120 pages or so. So it's something that doesn't take too long to read it, and gives, I think, a good overview. So that's maybe a good starting point.
Perfect. Domain-Driven Design Distilled.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It was excellent. It was very, very enlightening. And you stay tuned for more episodes of Build Propulsion Lab at JCON Europe. And we will be right back with you. Eberhard, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.